There's an extinction crisis underway. Forests, grasslands, wetlands are disappearing, wild animals are losing their habitats or being killed for the wildlife trade, climate change is transforming the planet's natural areas. These changes are rapid, and monitoring them on foot, while critical, is also expensive and time and labor intensive. This is why conservationists and communities around the world are increasingly relying on satellites in orbit around the Earth. Whether you're navigating to a new restaurant in the city or watching visuals of an approaching storm, you depend on artificial satellites. In fact, the top-down view of our planet has become so commonplace that we can't imagine our lives without it. By constantly watching the Earth's surface, remote sensing satellites also serve as remote doctors, checking our planet's health at regular intervals. This has proven to be a powerful tool for the conservation of nature. Satellite data can tell us where different natural areas like forests are and what they contain. They give us a bird's eye view of remote areas that have remained data deficient, perhaps because of difficult terrain or lack of funding for regular field surveys. They tell us if habitats are shrinking or expanding over time. Some platforms, like the Global Forest Watch, even allow people to see where and when forests are disappearing in near real time. High-resolution satellite images can reveal illegal activities, such as deforestation by a mining company, and they can detect small hotspots of wildfires ravaging forests and the extent of natural areas that have burned. Researchers also use very high-resolution satellite images to monitor wild animal populations. Direct monitoring, however, is usually possible when the landscape is open, such as in savanna grasslands, polar areas, or the open ocean, where the animals or their traces can be seen clearly. It also helps when the individual animal is big enough for the satellite sensors to detect them, and when the target animal's color contrasts sharply with the surrounding area. For instance, researchers have been able to identify flamingo congregations that appear as bright spots against the dark surrounding water. They've also used satellite images to identify polar bears that appear as large white spots on ice-free land. When animals are too small for a satellite to detect, researchers use proxies. For example, emperor penguins, during their breeding season, leave behind fecal or guano stains on Antarctica's sea ice that are visible from space. Scientists have used these stains to map penguin colonies. Sometimes researchers use satellite data to see what's happening to wildlife indirectly, through habitat associations. Every animal and plant species prefers a certain kind of habitat, the limits of which are defined by factors like temperature, rainfall, or altitude. Satellites measure these factors, and researchers use the measurements to map the extent of suitable habitat for the species and to see how the habitats may be changing. But satellites don't always capture the perfect image. Not all satellites can see through cloud cover, for instance. They may cross a certain point on Earth only once every 16 days instead of daily. Those that do cross daily may only be able to detect areas that are larger than a few hundred meters, leaving out finer details. And interpretation is stronger when it's backed by data from good field surveys and an understanding of the local context. Still, as satellite-based systems become more sophisticated, tracking finer details more frequently, and as the data get cheaper and easier to use, satellites will continue to be a big support for conservation decision-making.